For 233 years, this bank survived everything. It financed Britain's wars against Napoleon. It loaned Thomas Jefferson the money to buy a third of America. A French statesman once said, there were 6 great powers in Europe: England, France, Prussia, Austria, Russia, and the Baring brothers. Card, 1762, the oldest bank in Britain. In February 1995, all of it, the whole 2 1/3 centuries, was destroyed in a matter of days. Not by a war, not by a market crash. By one 28-year-old trader, working out of a Singapore office, hiding his mistakes in a secret account. And the number of that account would become one of the most infamous in financial history. This is the story of Nick Leeson, and how a working-class kid from Watford, with no university degree, bankrupted the Queen's Bank, and walked onto a plane thinking he might get away with it. Nick Leeson didn't come from money. He grew up in a public housing estate north of London, the son of a plasterer. He was good with numbers and hungry to prove it. By 1992, Barings, the ancient aristocratic bank, sent him to Singapore to run the back office of its new futures operation. He was 25, and here Barings made its first fatal mistake. Leeson didn't just settle the trades, soon he was placing them too. He ran the trading desk and the department that was supposed to check the trading desk. He was, in effect, his own referee. In any real bank, those two jobs are kept far apart. In Singapore, they sat in the same chair. Leeson's job was supposed to be boring and safe. Arbitrage. Buy a futures contract cheap on one exchange, sell it a fraction higher on another, pocket the tiny difference. Low risk, small reward. London loved it because the profits kept coming. And nobody asked too many questions about how a quiet arbitrage desk was making so much money. Because it wasn't arbitrage. Almost from the start, Leeson was making real bets, big directional bets that the Japanese market would go one way. And when those bets went wrong, he needed somewhere to hide the losses. So he opened an error account. Its number, 88888. Card, account ATT8, where the losses went. In Chinese culture, 8 is the luckiest number there is. This account would become the unluckiest in the history of banking. It was designed to hold small, temporary mistakes and be cleared every day. Leeson used it to bury his losses and keep them out of London's sight. A trader loses money, it happens. The crime was hiding it, and then doubling down to win it back. And that is the trap that destroys rogue traders. Down a little, you bet bigger to break even. Down more, you bet bigger still. By the end of 1994, the secret account held a hidden loss of £208 million, and Leeson's bosses still believed he was their star, their golden boy. He was even paid a bonus. Card, $208 million, hidden by end of 1994. To keep the illusion alive, Leeson needed cash to cover the margin calls, the deposits the exchange demanded on his growing positions. So he lied to London, requesting tens of millions at a time to fund client trades that didn't exist. And London, trusting its star, wired the money. They were, without knowing it, funding the hole that was swallowing them. By early 1995, Leeson had made an enormous bet that the Japanese market would stay calm. He needed the Nikkei to sit still. And then, at 5:46 in the morning on the 17th of January, the ground in Japan moved. The Kobe earthquake killed thousands and shook the Japanese economy. The Nikkei fell like a stone, 1,000 points in days. Every one of Leeson's bets was now catastrophically wrong. A careful man would have confessed and cut the loss. Leeson did the opposite. He bet the bank, literally, that he could push the market back up himself. In the weeks after Kobe, Leeson bought Nikkei futures on a staggering scale, trying single-handedly to lift an entire national stock market. It was like one man trying to hold back the tide. The market kept falling. The losses in account 8888 went from enormous to unthinkable. By late February, the hidden loss had passed £800 million, more than the entire capital of the 233-year-old bank. Barings didn't know it yet, but it was already dead. Leeson knew. On the 23rd of February, he packed a bag, left a note that simply said, "I'm sorry," and boarded a plane out of Singapore with his wife. Yeared $827 million, more than the bank was worth. Back in London, an accountant finally pulled the thread on account 8888. What they found didn't make sense, then made too much sense. Frantic executives called the Bank of England. Over one desperate weekend, Britain's financial establishment tried to assemble a rescue. There was no rescue big enough. The hole was bigger than the bank. On Sunday, the 26th of February 1995, Barings was declared insolvent. The oldest merchant bank in Britain, Jefferson's Bank, the Queen's Bank, was finished. A few days later, the Dutch bank ING bought all of it. The name, the history, the debts, for £1. Card, one TARS, the price of a 233-year-old bank. Nick Leeson didn't make it home. He was arrested during a stopover in Frankfurt and, after months fighting extradition, was sent back to Singapore to face the consequences. He pleaded guilty to fraud. The sentence, 6.5 years. Prison was brutal. He was diagnosed with colon cancer, behind bars, and nearly died. His marriage fell apart. And yet, this is the part that still unsettles people. Nick Leeson survived, and in a strange way, he won. He served 4.5 years, walked out in 1999, wrote a best-selling book, watched a Hollywood actor play him in a film, and reinvented himself as a highly paid speaker on, of all things, risk management. The man who sank a bank now gets paid to warn others about people exactly like him. But the real lesson of Barings isn't about one clever, reckless young man. It's about everyone above him who didn't look. Leeson controlled his own oversight. His profits were too good, and nobody wanted to ruin the story by checking. For 3 years, the answer was one honest audit away. And the bank got rich enough on the illusion that no one asked. A rogue trader needs 2 things to destroy an institution: his own nerve and everyone else's trust that they'd never need to look. Barings was 203 years old. It took one man 3 years to hollow it out, and 3 days for it to fall. And the terrifying part isn't that it happened. It's how ordinary the warning signs were. Sitting in an account, named after the luckiest number there is. Next case file, the company that was named America's most innovative for 6 years in a row, while inventing almost every profit it reported. Subscribe